Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine we've stumbled upon a collection of sources, think blog posts, tweets maybe, that are not just thought-provoking, but potentially, well, paradigm shifting.
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into some truly fascinating material. It challenges, maybe everything you think about faith, history, the very fabric of our world.
Right.
We're exploring ancient prophecies, this concept of vast spiritual ages, and a very specific take on what these sources call spiritual tyranny.
Okay.
Our goal. It's really to give you a shortcut to being well-informed on some truly aha moments you might not find anywhere else.
And what's particularly captivating, I think, about these sources is how they draw from really diverse religious traditions. You've got Christianity, Hinduism, Islam,
Yeah.
but they're not trying to create a theological debate.
Yeah.
Instead, they're presenting this singular kind of interconnected narrative.
It's a little story.
Sort of, yeah. A grand story about humanity's spiritual journey and what these sources describe as a profound turning point. So our mission is to navigate these intriguing claims, explore the connections they make, and really try to understand the deep implications woven throughout this unique body of work.
Okay, first up then, let's talk about time itself. Most of us, we think of history as this linear path, just moving straight from past to future.
Standard you.
Exactly. But these sources, they propose something much bigger, much older, these vast cyclical ages. They put us squarely in what they call the Kali Yuga, which they suggest has been unfolding for like over 5,000 years.
That's a long time.
It is. And here's where it gets truly mind-bending. They claim that ancient Hindu texts like the Ramayana and Mahabharata, describing events from 7,000 and 5,000 years ago,
Ancient stuff, yeah.
contain astronomical data that, they assert, modern NASA scientists have actually confirmed.
Confirmed by NASA. That's a huge claim.
It is. So what does it mean if such precise ancient knowledge, seemingly without telescopes or modern tools, could actually exist?
Indeed. I mean, if we accept these claims about astronomical precision in ancient texts, it really compels us to wonder how. How could they possibly have acquired that data thousands of years ago?
Right.
The sources propose a pretty profound answer. That certain knowledge isn't discovered through, let's say, conventional means, but maybe it's gifted divinely.
Well, gifted.
Yeah, they point to King Janak's instant enlightenment as an example of this kind of thing. And this idea, this concept of divinely bestowed knowledge, then leads them to a powerful and, frankly, rather unsettling claim
Okay.
that the deepest, the most pervasive tyrannies of our age aren't just political or military. They're fundamentally spiritual.
Spiritual tyranny.
That's the term. They define true worship as an act of absolute free will, declaring, and this is a direct quote essentially, that faith without freedom is not faith, it is coercion. And that any coercion in the name of God is not divine, it is demonic. This for them is the very essence of spiritual tyranny.
So, okay, how does this idea, the spiritual tyranny, how does it play out in the real world according to these sources?
Well, they point quite specifically to what they describe as oppressive regimes. Places like Iran and Pakistan are mentioned.
Okay.
And they argue that the earthly oppression we see there is sustained by a pervasive spiritual blindness.
Blindness.
Yeah. They highlight interpretations of Islam where leaving the faith is punishable by death, which they describe as creating a prison of the mind and spirit.
That's strong language.
It is. They even suggest that Iran's stated goal of destroying Israel isn't just, a political policy, but is framed by the sources as a manifestation of spiritual warfare.
Spiritual warfare.
Driven by a kind of hate that to them seems to defy logic.
Yep.
They connect this to ancient epics, referencing figures like Duryodhana from the Mahabharata and Ravana from the Ramayana.
Right, the antagonists.
Exactly. Portrayed as antagonists whose ego and delusion prevent them from accepting peace. They state, when the devil takes hold of the heart, no reasoning can pierce that armor of delusion.
It sounds pretty intense, and I think it's crucial we keep saying we're relaying the source's perspective here. We're not endorsing it ourselves.
Absolutely, precisely. And these sources, they describe the devil not just as some abstract concept, but as a real spiritual force that clouds judgment, distorts truth, and drives people to cruelty.
A real force.
That's how they put it. They even highlight a Kali Yuga prophecy. People would kill each other and not even know why, suggesting this pervasive sort of inexplicable chaos is what we witness today.
So the implication is spiritual darkness leads to cruelty without reason.
That's the strong implication, yes. Now, they do acknowledge that all Muslims are human beings, capable of transformation, and that even the devout struggle with temptation and fall into sin.
Okay, so there's nuance there.
There is. But the sources emphasize what they see as a fundamental structural difference in redemption. They contrast systems rooted in, say, unearned love and grace with those they perceive as based on fear and domination.
Right, okay. So given this whole concept of a spiritual battle, the end of an age,
Yeah.
where do the sources go next?
Well, they pivot to what many traditions call the end times.
The end times. Okay.
But, and this is a critical distinction they make, it's not about the end of the world.
Ah, okay. Not apocalypse in that sense.
Exactly. It's emphatically the end of this age. And this leads to some truly surprising insights about the awaited Messiah, who, get this, they claim is already here.
Already here. Wow. Okay, tell me more.
Well, a fascinating point they make is about the Lord's Prayer,
Yeah.
taught by Jesus himself. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Familiar words.
Very. They argue this prayer is directed not to Jesus, but to God the Father.
Okay.
And they identify this God the Father as Yahweh to Jews and Vishnu to Hindus.
Whoa, okay. So they're equating Yahweh and Vishnu.
That's what the sources propose, yes. And this suggests to them that the Messiah the Jews await is, in fact, Yahweh in human form.
Yahweh in human form.
While they acknowledge the prophecy about the Messiah being born in the line of David was fulfilled in Jesus, they assert the final act, the big finale, is the arrival of God himself as king.
God himself. Okay. This is where their narrative really seems to push for interfaith understanding, maybe, or at least their unique version of it.
It certainly opens that door.
Yeah.
They claim to find no contradiction between the Bible and Hindu scriptures. Instead, they see profound harmony.
Harmony, not conflict. Interesting.
Very. They even contend that British colonialism actively misrepresented Hindu scriptures to discredit Sanatana Dharma, which is the traditional name for Hinduism.
Right.
Arguing these colonialists were, and quoting the source's language, thieves and thugs who never read the book of Exodus, which makes it unequivocally clear that God opposes slavery, colonization, and exploitation.
So they're using the Bible to critique the colonial interpretation of Hinduism.
Precisely. And from there, they point out that Hindus believe Vishnu previously came as Lord Rama and Lord Krishna,
Yes.
with Krishna promising his return in the Bhagavad Gita to reestablish Dharma and bring about the end of the current age, the Kali Yuga.
Okay, so the return is prophesied in Hinduism too.
According to these sources, yes. And here's where their claims become quite specific and very present day. The sources boldly assert, he is here.
He is here now.
Right now, and that this age will end within a few decades, ushering in what they call the Age of Dharma,
The Age of Dharma.
which they claim is vividly described in the book of Isaiah, interestingly.
So connecting back to the Bible again.
Yes. They describe this second coming as being born quietly, like a thief in the night, living among us for decades, unknown to most people.
Hidden in plain sight, sort of.
That's the idea. And what's even more striking, really, is that the sources make explicit claims about contemporary figures.
Oh, like who?
They state Modi is Hanuman incarnate.
India's prime minister.
As Hanuman. That's the claim. And Kathmandu's mayor, Balen Shah, is Laxman or Ballroom reborn.
Wow.
Both here, supposedly, to support Lord Kalki in his mission. Now, Lord Kalki, for context, is the prophesied 10th avatar of Vishnu in Hindu tradition.
The one who comes at the end of the Kali Yuga.
Exactly. The sources say Kalki is here, and these figures are here to support him. They also list other ancient souls like Moses, Thomas, John the Baptist, and Job, claiming they're also present today.
Okay, that's a lot. So, Moses, John the Baptist, Hanuman, all reincarnated and active now, supporting this Kalki figure.
According to these specific blog posts and tweets, yes, it's quite a claim.
Understatement. Now, while these sources find this surprising harmony between the Bible and Hindu scriptures, they seem to draw a very sharp line when it comes to Islam and the Quran.
They do. They highlight what they see as key, irreconcilable divergences. They state that Islam denies the crucifixion and resurrection foundational events in Christianity.
Foundational, yeah.
Adding that, as Paul writes, without the resurrection, we have no faith. They also note Islam's uniqueness, in their view, in claiming all other religions are false.
Okay, and again, important to stress, we are simply presenting the views expressed in the source material here. We're not endorsing or refuting them.
Absolutely critical clarification. And this is where the sources make perhaps their most provocative statements. They contend, and this is a direct quote, Islam in this sense is the devil's religion, and it will end.
That is an extraordinarily strong claim.
Extremely strong, yes. And how they elaborate on the implications of this viewpoint.
Right.
Well, they also touch on Muslim eschatology prophecies about the end times.
Okay.
They mention how Jesus is said, in some Islamic traditions, to return to break the cross and assist the Mahdi.
The Mahdi being a messianic figure in Islam.
Correct. To assist the Mahdi in fighting the Dajjal. The Dajjal is, for listeners, essentially an antichrist figure in Islamic tradition.
Right, the deceiver.
But here's a curious detail the sources highlight. The Dajjal is described by some Muslim scholars as doing things like freeing women.
Freeing women. How did the sources interpret that?
They imply it's a deceptive allure, part of the Dajjal's trickery. It feeds into their broader point that being a priest or getting baptized does not shield one from being misled by evil.
So position or ritual isn't protection.
Not automatically, no. They stress that the devil is a very active spiritual force, making sincere devotion and, importantly, discernment absolutely essential.
Discernment. So given all this, what's the great danger these sources are really warning us about? What's the core risk?
It seems to boil down to the risk of misidentifying the Messiah.
Misidentifying him? How so?
They predict that when the Messiah comes, many will say that's the devil.
Whoa. Why?
They connect this back to how Jesus was treated. Remember, the priests of his time accused him of being possessed by Beelzebul when he healed people.
Ah, right. So history repeating, in a way.
That's the parallel they draw. The core message here seems to be that recognizing God in human form requires a deep inner understanding that you yourself come from God and that your soul is indestructible.
An internal recognition, not just external signs.
Exactly. They state that a final war has been prophesied, and this is apparently how previous ages ended, with those under the devil's influence fighting to the death. But this time, they claim, it's different because the devil now has his own religion.
Implying Islam, based on their earlier statements.
That seems to be the direct implication from the sources, yes, making the spiritual battle somehow more overt or distinct this time around.
Okay. That's a very stark picture. Is there any hope offered?
Yes. Despite these stark warnings, the sources actually conclude with a message of profound hope. And it's a call for witness, not war.
Witness, not war. Okay.
They advocate for a compassionate response, to reach out to Muslims and show them the path of God, stressing again that Muslims are human beings capable of transformation.
So condemnation of the structure, but compassion for the people.
That appears to be the stance, yes. They proclaim that all religions born in this age will pass with this age.
All of them. Christianity, Hinduism too.
That's what they say. All religions born in this age will pass with this age. And that in the next age, humanity's capacity for spiritual knowledge will be 100 times greater.
100 times. Wow.
They liken it to the end of spiritual primary school. Graduation is near.
A graduation for humanity.
That's the metaphor. They encourage everyone listening, essentially, to break the tyranny, come to God, emphasizing that the call of God is universal. He waits with open arms.
So it ends on a universal invitation.
It does. This expansive vision suggests that true liberty doesn't just come from, say, political revolution, but from a deeper spiritual revelation and a return to the divine.
So as we reflect on this really incredible deep dive, I mean, ancient prophecies, spiritual ages, the nature of divinity, tyranny, all from these blog posts and tweets. Consider this. If the path to liberty truly begins with a return to the divine, as these sources so emphatically suggest, what does that personal journey, and maybe the collective journey, what does that look like for you right here, right now, in the midst of what they're describing as the end times?
Right. And maybe think about this too. If the work has begun, and Lord Kalki is here, as these sources claim with such, well, conviction,
Yeah.
what does it truly mean to discern the signs of a new age dawning? Especially when the very sources warn that this Messiah figure might actually be accused of being the devil by those who expect something, or someone else entirely. It leaves you with a lot to ponder, doesn't it?